Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I'd really appreciate it, and I'd be able to send videos of watches like this to your inbox as soon as tomorrow morning. If you like this watch, even if it's not posted on our website yet, it is for sale on thewatchbox.com. Buy, trade, and sell luxury watches 24 hours a day on thewatchbox.com, and if you see anything here that's not listed, call or email or text one of our guys or gals, because they have all of our inventory and pricing information at their fingertips at all times, whether the watch is up or not. And today, given the build-up, I better deliver. What I deliver is the 2018 Rolex GMT. This is the 126710 BLRO, not just the first Pepsi bezel of the modern supercase era in steel, but it's also the first Pepsi bezel with a Jubilee bracelet in the modern era. The timepiece, not exactly the successor to the previous white gold model. That one continues with a oyster bracelet and a blue dial. This is more a new chapter in Rolex GMT history, mechanically and aesthetically. In terms of the fit, well, it'll be familiar to anyone who's worn a GMT made since 2005 in the 6-digit series. So 40 millimeters is the size, not including crown and crown guards. The watch is quite slim. It's only 12.1 millimeters thick, and you'll find that it slides underneath any dress cuff, and with the Jubilee bracelet, the watch is well suited to formal attire. In terms of the Lug To Lug, this is where things get interesting. The timepiece is 48.1 millimeters Lug To Lug, which is to say it wears very compact across the wrist. The difference here is that unlike the oyster bracelet, which generally increases the span to over 51 millimeters. Here it's a little bit more close coupled, as it's 49.5 if you include the solid end links of the Neo Jubilee bracelet. This is a watch that can wear well on a wrist as small as 13.5 centimeters circumference. Now the timepiece does feature full steel construction bracelet, clasp, and case, and the bracelet is worth a shout out since this is one of the visual signatures of the new watch, co-equally with the Cerachrom bezel. You'll note 5 links, polished centers, polished outer flanks, satin finished shoulders. The Jubilee since 1945 has been Rolex's more dress-oriented mainstream bracelet. There's the President on the Big Bopper, the Date 8, and some Datejusts. There's the Jubilee, which is often on the Datejust, occasionally historically found on the GMT. And then there's the Oyster, which is more sporting in fashion, perhaps better suited to a Sea Dweller, a Daytona, or a Sub than a GMT. This feels right, and right up to the end of the 5-digit reference steel GMTs, you could have ordered a Jubilee bracelet with a watch in steel. Not so for a while. This is the return of the classic GMT with Jubilee. Plenty of gaps between links to avoid pinching skin, pulling hair, or trapping heat. The clasp is as substantial as you will find on an Oyster. Milled out, combination of satin and polish, clamshell closure. As ever, Rolex manufacturing tolerance is absolutely perfect. It's flush on the top and it's flush on the sides when closed. Despite the addition of an unconventional bracelet style, at least for a modern GMT, easy link, present and correct, 5 millimeters of adjustment. It is now the equivalent of adding or removing 2 individual links, whereas with an Oyster it's the equivalent of adding or removing 1 single link. Nicely tapered with a conforming end profile to the end link that unifies the watch with the case without being rather monolithic at the tips as you'd find on an Oyster. The case flank is still the super case, which is to say sheer, polished on its flank, satin on its top with squared off tips. Not quite as brutal as some of the sports watches in the Dive family though. You'll note that the bezel is still robustly coined on its outer circumference, and this is where it really differs from the other Rolex family, or I should say Rolex Universe debut of Basel this year, the Tudor Black Bay GMT. That one has a finer texture to its bezel. This is a bigger, more traditionally Rolex knurling, and you can see it's all high polished outboard. A 24-hour, it has 48 individual stops. You can use it to line up with the 24-hour hand, assuming you set the 24-hour hand. Let's get this in focus here. Assuming you set the 24-hour hand to Greenwich Mean Time, you will find that you can use the bezel to offset per the local GMT offset of your port or airport of destination, thereby temporarily telling 3 time zones. Okay, a little bit more going on. The Cerachrom insert, it is both blue and it is red. There is no blending of the two or blurring of the two. The Cerachrom material is ceramic, effectively as scratch resistant as sapphire for our purposes. The numerals and the indices are created by depositing platinum within the bezel, so you have both a highly scratch resistant surface that's lustrous and rich, as well as a perma-bonding of the metal of the indices and numerals to the bezel itself. Inboard, not a whole lot changes on the dial. White gold applique, white gold hands at center, a gloss lacquer style black base, and of course the Cyclops eye for the date present and correct. As ever, the watch features a second time zone as a GMT-Master II. It is a true dual time. We haven't seen a GMT-Master in quite a while, but a GMT-Master II is a true dual time that allows you to set the local 12-hour hand independently of the 24-hour hand, and you can actually jump forward or backwards across the international date line, driving the date in either direction with no hazard to the watch. Pull the crown out to its second stop, and now you hack or stop the seconds, and you can move everything in sync to synchronize precisely to a known accurate reference time. Beautifully blue with chromolite lume. There will be a lume shot at the end. Crown guard profile, triplock crown, despite the fact that this is a 100 meter, not 300 meter watch like the subs. Screwed down case back. Underneath, all is changed. The Chronergy escapement comes to the GMT, now a 70-hour power reserve. It's a combination of a different mainspring barrel, a different mainspring profile, a different train profile, a different escapement, all combining to give the watch a 70-hour power reserve rather than the previous watch's 48. Otherwise, all the good stuff from the 3186 continues into the 3285. So you have the hacking seconds, the second time zone, the COSC chronometer certification, and the superlative chronometer adjustment, such that it's not just tested and certified as a bare movement, it is then cased up at Rolex and tested to +2, -2 seconds per day, better than the chronometer test. Free sprung balance with a full bridge, very shock resistant. Overcoil hairspring Breguet style, handmade, allowing the watch to beat concentrically, despite the fact that gravity often plays havoc with movements when timed in different positions. Thanks to the overcoil profile, this watch does not have that problem, and thanks to the Cerachrom blue niobium zirconium alloy that is then blue oxidized, it is a robustly anti-magnetic hairspring. Smooth bidirectional winding, the watch beats away at 28,800 vibrations per hour. This is the face of now, the hottest watch of the moment, not called 5711 or Hulk or Daytona. If you've noticed a trend there, all steel sports watches, and frankly, most of them hailing from Patek and Rolex. So what does it take to own the heartthrob of our time? Well, time is money. You can stand in line and get this watch at an authorized dealer and pay list, but wait 2 years. Or you can pay more and own it now. As ever, time is money. If you want the hottest thing on your wrist, and if you want to be the first on the block, this one's ready and waiting, ticking away on thewatchbox.com. Okay, we are back with the BLRO. Well, that's the 126710 BLRO. Now a Pepsi in steel. You can't see the Jubilee bracelet, but this one is unmistakably a GMT Master. See it by the light of day and make it yours on our website.